Let's look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the NFL Draft is fastly approaching, and over the last month or so, we have talked extensively about potential trading partners. We have talked about the Jets, the Giants, the Texans, the Panthers, the Seahawks, the football team, the Saints, the Steelers, etc., etc. But I feel like the one team we haven't really talked about yet and haven't really gone all that deep on is the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons currently hold the number 8 pick in this year's NFL Draft and currently have 5 picks within the top 100 and 9 picks overall in this NFL Draft. They have 1 pick in every single round, including 2 third-rounders and 2 sixth-rounders to put them at a total of 9 draft selections. They have a lot of capital to move up in this year's NFL Draft for the right player, and I do believe with their current quarterback situation that they could be a prime candidate to move up to select the number 1 quarterback in this class, being Malik Willis. Now, you guys may disagree, and I know a lot of people on this channel are not very big fans of Malik Willis, but Malik Willis is the best quarterback in this year's class. He is almost easily and unanimously graded as the number 1 QB by almost every single team and every single analyst from what I have heard. His tools and his skill set are elite, and his coachability is what will make him a great quarterback in the NFL. And I do believe with the Atlanta Falcons' current quarterback situation, they might be potential buyers on that prospect. Now, before we do get into it, I do want to preface that I needed to make this a realistic trade, right? On the website, on the trade simulator, it was giving up, 5, 6 picks for the number 2 overall selection alone. I didn't feel that was fair. I wanted to leave Atlanta with some kind of draft capital both now and for next year. So I did take what I thought was reasonable value, but I didn't want the Falcons to overpay for a quarterback. I know quarterbacks make teams do very, very crazy things, but the trade I did come up with was one that I do believe is very, very fair. Now, getting into this scenario, looking at the Falcons quarterback situation, they have 2 quarterbacks on the roster, being Marcus Mariota and Felipe Franks. They don't have a solid, solidified starter in that spot past next year, as Marcus Mariota, I believe, did sign a 2-year contract. But if I'm the Atlanta Falcons and I'm going with Marcus Mariota and Felipe Franks, I'm not very comfortable with that. Marcus Mariota has showed what he is in the NFL. He is a top quality backup, and he can step in and win you a couple of football games a year if you absolutely need that. But he's not a full-time starter. He's not a good enough passer, and he's no longer at the age where he can be an effective enough scrambler to be a top quarterback in the NFL Draft. I do believe if the Falcons stick with Marcus Mariota, they will be one of the bottom 5 teams in the NFL, because I do not think that roster is talented enough to elevate Marcus Mariota, and I do not think Marcus Mariota is talented enough to elevate the rest of the Atlanta Falcons. So I think the Atlanta Falcons are looking to make a move. That quarterback room is incredibly bare, and it is not incredibly talented. It doesn't have a long-term option at quarterback, so I think they look for one in this year's class, right? They've been patient. Yes, they signed Marcus Mariota, but they traded away Matt Ryan. They traded away their guy, took a massive cap hit, the biggest dead cap hit in NFL history, to have Marcus Mariota as a starting quarterback. It just doesn't make sense to me, and I do believe they did this because they're looking to move on to the next generation, and they're looking to move on to the next quarterback. Now, why would the Falcons trade up for the number 2 overall pick just to take Malik Willis, you may ask? Well, the rumors have been swirling that the Lions could potentially be interested in the Liberty product, as could the Carolina Panthers. Both of them have brought in Malik Willis for a top 30 visit over the past week, and I personally do not 100% believe that Brian Daboll and the New York Giants are sold on Daniel Jones just yet. Holding the number 5 and the number 7 picks in the NFL Draft, the Giants have 2 picks before the Atlanta Falcons, and their quarterback is currently Daniel Jones, who is nowhere near the caliber of player that Josh Allen is, and is nowhere near the quality of quarterback that Brian Daboll is used to coaching. I think if you look at this year's class, Malik Willis is the closest thing that you're going to find to Josh Allen maybe ever. A big arm, very mobile, extremely coachable, wants to learn, has some accuracy issues, but has elite MVP upside. That is what Josh Allen was coming out of the draft when the Bills selected him in the top 10 in the 2018 NFL draft class, right? He was a huge prospect, a huge project, but Brian Daboll made him the quarterback he is today, and I wouldn't be shocked if Brian Daboll wants to do it again with the second coming of Josh Allen. Malik Willis is the most athletic and is the highest upside quarterback in this class, and I think the Giants could look to take him. So the Atlanta Falcons would have to jump the Giants twice, the Carolina Panthers, and even potentially the Detroit Lions if they want their quarterback. And I do believe that if they fall in love with Malik Willis, this trade could very easily go through. The trade is that the Atlanta Falcons give up, of course, the number 8th overall pick and move up 6 spots to number 2. But in doing so, they give up the 74th pick, the 114th pick, and a 2023 first-round pick. Now, the Lions would, in exchange for that, give up, of course, the number 2 overall pick, but also give up one of their 5th rounders in the 181st overall pick. The Lions move up to the 114th pick with that trade, right? Essentially swapping 181 for 114, but the Falcons get the number 2 pick while the Lions move back to number 8, and in return for that, you essentially get the 74th and you get the first-round pick next year by the Atlanta Falcons. This still leaves the Atlanta Falcons with 4 picks inside. This still leaves the Atlanta Falcons with, of course, 1 pick inside the top 10, now being a pick inside the top 5, as well as 4 other picks in the top 100, and still leaving them with 7 overall draft picks to build a roster and to build some talent around Malik Willis. I do believe this trade could and maybe even will happen on draft night as the Falcons look to move up their quarterback. The Lions sell them on the fact that they might take a quarterback, that Carolina might take Malik Willis, that the Giants could take Malik Willis at either of their 2 picks, and the Falcons get nervous. They jump up to number 2. They don't give up that much draft capital, right? A first, a third, a fourth, and a first for next year to move up into the top 5 and get a potential franchise quarterback. I think it's a very realistic trade. I think it works out well for both sides. The Falcons keep their trade value. They keep a lot of their draft capital. The Lions trade down 6 spots, but are still in a very good position inside the top 10 to get a top player in this class. And both teams get a lot of draft capital, and both teams still have a lot of opportunities on day 2 and 3 to improve their roster even further. Now, with the number 8 overall pick, you might be asking, who's available? Who's the guy that the Lions could pick at number 2 that could fit what Dan Campbell wants with an immediate starter, an impact player, and somebody that will be here for a very, very long time? I think your best options would be either Kyle Hamilton at the number 8 spot if he ends up falling that way. In the mock draft that I ended up doing, he did fall that way, and he did fall to number 8, but I do think he could go much earlier than that. Jermaine Johnson will likely be there at the number 8 overall position. Yes, you missed out on KT. Yes, you missed out on Aiden Hutchinson, but you are left with the very, very good edge rusher 3 in this class. And edge rusher 3 might sound like a bad thing at number 8. Edge rusher 3 would probably be edge rusher 1 a season ago. I mean, if you talk about last season, excluding Micah Parsons because he's more of a linebacker, not an edge rusher when he was drafted, I think Jermaine Johnson might even be the first edge rusher taken in the entire draft. He would be the number 1 edge rusher from a year ago, and just because this year's edge class is probably one of the best classes in recent memory, that does not mean Jermaine Johnson is a bad football player. Jermaine Johnson, it would likely be there at number 2, would likely be there at number 8, or if you really wanted to maybe reach down for that really big impact player day 1, Jordan Davis is expected to go somewhere in the mid-teens. You could either reach a little bit for Jordan Davis, maybe you take Drake London, maybe you take Garrett Wilson. There's a lot of opportunities at the number 8 overall pick, and although you're passing on maybe the elite prospects of this class being the Hutchinsons, the Kayvon Thibodeaux, and of course the big name Malik Willis, you're still getting a very good day 1 starter that could develop into a Pro Bowl talent as early as next season. So with all that being said, that is my trade proposal. I think both of these teams would get adequate value for the players. I think the Falcons, of course, would get their franchise quarterback. They would move up. The Lions would walk out of this class with still a top 10 pick in this class, an extra third, an actual 4th-round pick that they currently do not possess, as well as a third first-round pick for next year's class. I think it works out very well for what the Lions want to do: trade back, accumulate more picks, and get more players in the building and get more competition with this roster. And the Falcons, still holding a lot of draft capital, get their quarterback of the future and truly begin the post-Matt Ryan era with his successor. And with Marcus Mariota, you don't even necessarily have to play him week 1. You can ease him into NFL play with Mariota starting maybe weeks 1 and 2, but in a very similar situation to either Baker Mayfield or Deshaun Watson, or even as early or even as late as maybe like a Trey Lance. You can develop and kind of ease in Malik Willis to NFL play without throwing him to the fire immediately. But with all that being said, that is life for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about this particular trade scenario. Would you trade the number 2 overall pick and the 181st pick for 8, 74, 114, and a first next year? I'd be very curious what you guys think. But with all that being said, that is life for you guys today. Again, let me know down in the comments below your opinion and your grade on this potential trade. But with all of that being said, that is life for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching, and until next time, and as always, go Lions.